Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Chris coming at you with another episode to the Beautiful Struggle podcast, where we talk about personal development and business all in one podcast. And if this is your first time tuning in, this is episode number 64. We drop a new episode every single Monday of the week. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you and you want to tune into, feel free to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram at Beautiful Struggle Podcast. That's at Beautiful Struggle Podcast on Instagram. With all of that out the way, today we have another guest on. I believe this guest is going to be super valuable for the audience. He's just beginning his journey as an entrepreneur, so he has a very, very interesting perspective. On the startup, on the grind, on the hustle, and he's in the midst of obviously taking his business to the next level. As you guys know, if you guys are loyal listeners, we have a lot of guests on that have been in the game for 8, 10, 15, 20 years. So I always think it's very refreshing to bring someone like our following guest, just to share their story, to share their journey, and just talk about the mindset that they have to jump into entrepreneurship. So with that being said, a little bit about my guest. He is the founder of Alxndr Watches, specializes in watches and premium accessories. Welcome the fellow Boricua, Alex Vega. How you doing, bro?
What's good, bro? I'm awesome, man. I'm doing great.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, man. Let's jump right into it. I know you're staying out in New York, right? You're from New York,
Yeah, man. Brooklyn, born and raised, bro. I'm over here.
for sure. Yeah, I know. I'm out here in LA, and you're a Yankee fan, right?
Hardcore, yeah.
Yeah. So, you
That's what we got
okay? So
right
you
here,
got
bro.
you got the hat on. So I just had to let you know we in the West Coast, home of the champion Dodgers
Hey,
and the
listen, man.
Lakers.
I don't want to talk about it. I
uh,
support too, though. I
okay,
like
there
the
you go.
Dodgers too. I like
There
the
you go.
Dodgers too.
No, I'm just messing with you, man. I got a lot of love for New York. I got some family that a majority of my family actually from New York. So, but that'd be a good segue, man, to dive into your story, your background, growing up in New York. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, man. I guess to keep it simple, I'm from Brooklyn, born and raised. Um, I've been here my whole life, man. I don't really know. I don't know
Hmm.
what really to dive into, but yeah, just I guess yeah, born and raised in Brooklyn.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, man, it's definitely similar to LA. It's a
Hmm.
very hustle and grind type of mentality, which I
Absolutely.
like. Um, but yeah, which I think has a lot to do with me being who I am and starting stuff like this, and talking to somebody like you from LA, very similar minded, like I was saying earlier. But yeah, definitely New York helped
For sure.
grind me into.
Have you ever been back to Puerto Rico to visit?
Oh yeah, all the time, bro.
Okay.
Since I'm
Yeah.
little, a lot of times I was there last year before all of this coronavirus stuff happened for a wedding. It's
Got you.
amazing, man. I miss it. I hope to go back soon, bro.
Absolutely. I know from New York, that's an easy flight. I don't know how many hours that is, but from us,
Yeah,
that's
it's not
probably
too bad.
like
It's like three.
yeah,
How is it from LA?
it's like an 8 hour trip. So it's a little bit longer,
Oh
but
wow.
yeah, a little bit longer. But my wife and I have been, and it's absolutely amazing. So, uh, yeah, let's dive into like who you were as in high school. I know you graduated from college. You want to dive into that? Was school really your thing, or did you know from early on like maybe did you have your eyesight on entrepreneurship? Or was it something that just that you were interested in recently?
Yeah, nah, that's a good question, bro. I think um, from high school, I probably didn't think I was, like when you graduate high school, you have the yearbook and it says under what you want to be when you grow
Mm-hmm.
up, or when you graduate. I definitely didn't have it in my mind at that point. I think I put like firefighter or something like that. I knew it was a
Mm.
safe job. Once I got into college, I don't know exactly what it was, but I knew I wanted to do something more. At a certain point, I just wanted to do something more.
Mm.
So I think it was like 18, 19 years old. I became a realtor over here. So I worked with, rentals
Gotcha.
primarily. I didn't really jump too much into sales, but rentals is a very fast paced environment. So
Yeah.
that was definitely you're diving straight into, sales. Like you don't get paid unless you make a sale or unless you,
Mm.
get somebody to rent something. So it was a very humbling experience. But it taught me a lot. Like you literally had to, learn, like, or you're not
Yeah.
going to make money. So that's probably what got me started in kind of like just entrepreneurship, make money for yourself. But after I want to say 2.5 years, I had to decide if I wanted to, continue doing real estate or drop out of college. That was a decision I was battling with myself because I couldn't divide the time, effectively for both. If I was going to school, I was, doing part-time real estate and I wasn't making money. So I had to make a decision. Decided to go back to school, and I graduated with a bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in marketing.
Nice.
But like so many people say, bro, college is cool and all, but I've definitely learned a lot more from self-education after college. It's a very textbook education, which is cool. It's you build a lot of social skills and whatnot, but I think more so from, getting into real estate and, just trying to put myself, I guess, digitally, like social media, in environments that are feeding me, like entrepreneurial stuff. That's that's really where everything kind of started.
No, that's interesting because if you ask a lot of business owners out there and entrepreneurs, if you ask them like, "Hey, what's the one skill that I should have? What's the one skill that I should develop?" And 9 times out of 10, they'll say that you need to learn sales. Because like you said, it's sales is it's like almost so flexible. There's so much to it. Learning how to talk to people, learning how to just make it happen. Because a lot of times in sales, you have to work off commission. So a lot of entrepreneurs will say if there's one field that you should start in, or if there's a skill you should learn, it's definitely sales. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. It was I liked it, man. I liked the what's the word, like the urgency of it. Like I liked having to go out there and like I have to make a sale, which is scary, but at the same time it's like, yo, like let's go. All right, I got a client, I got a showing today, I got to show them this apartment, let's go. I don't want to pretend that I was amazing at it. I don't think I gave it enough time. Like I said, I did it while I was in college, and I was in college for long stretches of time. So in that 2.5 years that I was doing it, a lot of time was part-time. But bro, I love the sales part of it. Definitely. And even now,
it's like a thrill and a rush.
Yeah, 100%. And when you finally, like, I was so, like, when I started, bro, I was so bad. I didn't make a sale. I didn't make any rent. Like, I didn't get any rentals until I want to say maybe 3-4 months in. So that's 3-4 months with no money. But when I finally made that first rental, like when I finally made that first, like, the lady was like, yeah, I want it. Like, I love this place. And I was like, all right, cool. But then you still have to wait for, all of their, background check and everything to get approved. Bro, best feeling in the world, man. That was, oh man.
Absolutely. So that's funny that you graduated with the BA in business, because I actually graduated with a BA in business as well, with an emphasis in entrepreneurship out here. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's one of the first programs out in Southern California that they offered entrepreneurship. So I was like, heck, why not? So after college, you graduate. What's your next step? What's your mindset on now? So you're educating yourself a lot. You're learning a lot after college. What's the next thing for you?
Yeah. So when I graduated college, I was working as a doorman in Harlem. And I worked overnight shifts, so I had a lot of time on my hands. So I got that job, probably like the end of my sophomore year in college. So from that time, that's probably when I think I really started trying to educate myself, just reading as much as I can on the train ride there, like, just what do you call it? iBook or whatever it is. Like, that's when I really started going hard, and working at overnight shift, I had so much time on my hands. So that's what I would do. Once I graduated, I did hate that job. So I left that job, and basically, long story short, I knew I wanted to get into some type of digital marketing. I knew that was a skill that was, a really important skill that I thought I should learn in my life, have like knowing how to advertise and learning how to market. And I didn't know exactly what in digital marketing I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to get into it. So I took a course, which was very similar to a college course. It wasn't in a college. It was kind of like a separate educational, whatever, an educational program. I took that. It was cool, but I feel like it wasn't really what I was looking for. It kind of just felt like a college class, like, oh, read up on this business and, write a report at the end of it. So whatever, I guess fast forward from that, and I ended up getting a job in sales. I work right now for Turner Sports. So we basically just, advertise. We sell advertising space on like, NBA, MLB,
Gotcha.
E-League, stuff like that. Yeah.
Got you. Man, I feel like I've heard of Turner Sports. I feel
Turner,
like
yeah,
I
it's
think
it's a branch in Warner Media, so it's like a pretty big company. But I guess Turner,
gotcha.
yeah, it's like TNT, TBS, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dope. Are there any entrepreneurs in your family?
Not that I know of. I mean, I guess I would say my uncle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The building that I live in, actually, he owns the building. So I would say,
Dope.
real estate ownership is his,
Got you.
I guess entrepreneurship extent.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no like really deep entrepreneurs in my family. But yeah, like I said, once I got into real estate, I knew this is like, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do or how I was going to do it, or, but this is what I wanted to do.
Absolutely. Talk about how important self-education has been for you since you graduated college. Because I know for myself, and it's been everything. Like I've literally learned more in 30 days of educating myself and just going through the process of business or whatever it is than I learned at 6 years in college, right? So talk about the importance of that for you.
It's crazy, bro. Like, yeah, just like you said, man, it's probably the most important thing out of college, and really
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you're trying to get into. Like, I know your audience is, business oriented. They're either looking
Mm-hmm.
to start a business or they have a business or whatever the case is. Um, Self-education is more, you're educating yourself on something that you want to
Mm-hmm.
know. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to take, like when you're in college, they're going to offer you courses that you
Right.
might not want to take. It's a bullshit course that it's like, I just got to get this to get my credit to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Self-education, whether it's a book or whatever the case is, it's centered around what you want. You get to pick
Mm-hmm.
what you're self-educating on. And yeah, bro, I mean, it's been massive. It's
Mm-hmm.
been massive.
So okay, so you get the job. Now, when do you get the mindset of like, hey, I want to start my own brand. I want to do my own thing. Like, when did that click? What was your mentality? And what was that process like to starting your own brand?
um yeah, bro, that's a good question. I've known I wanted to start my own brand for a while, but I had no idea how to do it. It was
Gotcha.
kind of something that it was like, I'm gonna do it one day, but there was no clear plan. It was just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, it was something I knew I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure if I was actually going to do it one day. And we kind of spoke about it on Instagram. I would sell everything on eBay, bro. Like that was my thing. Like that's kind of, I know Gary Vee talks about it a lot. I think that's kind of what got me into that a little bit. Just
Yeah.
selling stuff on eBay. It came to a point literally where people in my family would tell me like, "Yo, you can't sell that. Like, please don't sell that. I'm giving that to you as a gift. Please don't sell that. I know it's a nice laptop, or whatever the case is, but I would sell
That's funny.
anything I could get my hands on, bro. Like,
That's very funny. Not to cut you off. You can hold your thought, but you can
bro,
ask my wife and probably anybody listening to this. I'm the same exact way, bro. And still to this day, I don't think it's ever gonna that urge is never gonna leave me of like being able to get something or have something and sell it for a profit. It just goes back to the thing we were talking about earlier, where it's just kind of like a thrill. Like I went through periods where I was selling any and anything as well, like going to the thrift store. And Gary Vee always talked about selling coffee mugs. I was doing the same damn thing, bro. Like I'm
yeah,
not
bro.
even joking.
It's funny.
Everything like, and I don't know if the audience knows this, but like, man, flipping anything. If you want a teddy bear, some laptops, a damn calculator, we was doing whatever it took to profit. And yeah, you make some money, but for me, I enjoy that hunt of finding something that I can profit off of and just reselling it. I think it's a thrill, and it's just something that I guess in a lot of entrepreneurs,
Yeah, that's a fact, man. It's very similar, like you said. Definitely
shoes.
very similar. I was,
I said
I
even
was,
shoes and sneakers and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I would sell literally. It's crazy. So I told you I worked as a doorman in Harlem. I worked the overnight shift, so people would throw like random shit out,
Mm,
and bro, I sold stuff from like golf clubs to furniture to Christmas
wow.
ornaments. Like I would sell anything that they threw out that I thought was valuable. I would literally just go on eBay, look up, try to get as specific a model as possible as whatever it is that they threw
Mm,
out or whatever it is that's laying around my house that I'm trying to sell, and just look at how much it's sold for. I bet I know it's going for 60. I'll list it for 60,
mm,
or if it's not selling for a while, I'll list it for 55, 50, whatever the case is. And that I think that process of selling stuff,
mm.
without knowing it, that's what sparked my interest in wanting to have my own brand, because I'm selling stuff like, I don't have
Right.
to go to work. I'm somebody makes a purchase off of whatever platform I have this thing listed on. And I'm like, okay, that's dope. I just made $100 and I'm chilling in my room right now.
Mm,
But I think it shifted because I was like, all right, that's dope. Um, but the shipping process, the packing process is
mm.
so different for everything, right? Like
Yeah.
selling a golf club, I have to find like such a wide box. And it was like, it's a learning process. Like I'm
Mm.
so happy that I went through that shit, but
You learn.
it's kind of annoying at the same time because you have to like now you have to get you have to find different stuff to pack it up in. It's a very different process for each thing. So I was like, all right, this is dope. So if I can sell something that's the same, like a repeatable item,
Mm-hmm.
that's dope. Like that's what I want to do.
Yeah. And that's the gem for you guys listening. And the reason why, I definitely wanted to talk about that is because a lot of people, especially during this time with COVID and the quarantine and whatnot, people may be getting laid off or maybe their hours are getting cut. And it's just selling stuff around your house is a phenomenal way to make money. Or even if financially you're good, but you just want to make some extra capital to start that brand or whatever the case is, or to go on that trip, selling stuff around the house is like I said, it's a phenomenal way to do it. A lot of people they'll resell anything. So I'm all for doing that. I've been doing it. I'll probably forever try to resell something. What was like your biggest flip, or maybe the one that you're just like, dang, I can't believe I made this much off this item.
Um, I don't know.
While you think about it, I have a really really funny one.
Let's
So
hear it.
just real quick, I was at a thrift store, and the Beanie Babies from back in the days.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, the little Beanie Babies.
Right, right,
It,
right.
so
I
one
think
of
so. I think I
those,
know some.
yeah. If you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyways, little Beanie Baby, they used to always come with these like little red tags on the doll. So I was like looking around, seeing what I could flip. It was before my shift. I was working retail, just seeing if I could make some money before I go into work. I found this doll that was like this big, maybe like a foot tall or so. I didn't know what it was worth. I was looking it up just like you, going on eBay, going on the internet. Literally couldn't find this thing anywhere. I just knew it was like a Beanie Baby and it was from the 80s. I didn't
Yeah.
know what it was worth, bro. I just took pictures of it, and then I went to work. On my break, I pulled up I pulled up eBay, pulled up the pictures, posted the item. I was like, I have no idea what to post this thing for. I just posted it for like $100 just to see what happens. And I'm sure you've done that. You don't know what it's worth. You just post it.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally, 10 minutes later, I get a notification that this thing sold for $100. A damn stuffed animal that I didn't even know what the value of it was. But it goes back to what you were saying. You're like, dang, like I just made $100, really just doing nothing, right? Just posting the
Right.
pictures.
See, that's a good thing, but that's a bad thing. Is if it sells so quick that it makes you think, damn, maybe I could have got a little bit more off of this. Why did he buy it so
or
quick?
or or that as well, or it gets you thinking like, I got to go back to that spot and now I can sell. You
Yeah,
think
exactly. Let me
it's
double
almost
down on that.
let me double down, but it's a little bit of luck. So you try to double down on these little teddy bears, and now none of them are selling, just that
Yeah.
one. So
Just that lucky one. Yeah, I think mine. Yeah, that's a funny one, bro. Mine, I'm not even gonna tell you a story of one that I was so happy about selling. I'm gonna tell you one that kind of pissed me off, or I was just like, "Are you kidding me, bro?" So I worked at the doorman spot. Everybody would see me selling stuff. Like I would literally just take stuff, put it in the back room. They're like, "Yo, why is that Christmas ornament, or why is that Nutcracker guy in the back?" I'm
yeah.
like, "Oh no, I'm trying to list it on eBay." And one of the guys there, he's like, oh, that's a good idea. Like that's a pretty good idea. So he started doing the same thing. And I'm like, damn, I should have kept it more low key. Like
Yeah.
now I have competition for the stuff that people are throwing out. Bro, I go to work one day and he's like, yo, like I'm relieving his shift. And he's like, yo, look what I got. These guys threw out these 2 guitars. Long story short, that one of the guitars, he kept one of them for himself. And the other one he sold for $500. I
Damn.
was like, bro, I was like, that was stung a little bit. I was like, come on, man. Like that should have been mine
crazy.
right there.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, so you getting into selling things online. You're at a point where like, man, you can't be shipping out golf clubs and coffee mugs. The shipping's getting out of control. You want to ship out one consistent thing. So now this kind of leads you into maybe the products you're selling now.
Yeah, a little bit. So I had that thought
Got you.
process in my head, in that I knew I wanted to start a brand. I just didn't know how to go about it. I didn't know, the steps to take to actually make that happen. Um, Coronavirus hit. I got lucky. I started my job in January, and we're lucky enough to work from home. So now I have a lot more time in my hands, and that I don't have to travel to work, and I don't have to travel back from work. So that opens up a big portion of my day. And the gyms were also closed, so that's a big portion of my day also. So I had a lot of time. I came across a community on Twitter. I guess it's Money Twitter. I came across a couple people, Chris Johnson, Dante Zakram, and this is where we go back to self-education, bro, because it could be a book, it could be a course, it could be whatever it is. And the most expensive courses are not necessarily the most effective. And if it's a cheaper course, that doesn't mean it's not a good course. So the first course I bought, it was Chris Johnson's Reloaded Field Manual course. And that was literally probably the best $50-$60 I ever spent in my life, man. I'm gonna be honest, because it was so much information. It was literally a blueprint on how to get this stuff started. And I bought it for $50-$60 and I'm like, yo, what do I have to lose? This is literally the price of, like, if I go out to drinks with my friend, like, I'm gonna spend way more than this.
Yeah.
So I bought that. I watched the whole course and I was like, bro, this is it. This is literally the whole blueprint of what I've been trying to do. And it only cost me $50-$60 to do it. That was like, that was probably the turning point. So I saw I got the blueprint now, and then I was just trying to figure out, what am I going to sell? And yeah, I guess a big part of it is it's the self-education, but I think it's just kind of going through it, like figuring it the fuck out, like, learning on the fly and stuff like that. Like that's what's going to teach you a lot. Like that's what's going to teach you big time,
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because you posted on Instagram. You said not knowing everyone and not being 100%. Well, you said you posted on Instagram about, I think it said not knowing everyone and not being 100% prepared. And just talk about that figure it out mentality that you have, because again, having all these entrepreneurs on, that's one of the mentalities that they have, is they just got to figure it out. Like I don't know the answer, but I'm just literally going to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So even in sales, you might sell something, and you might be promising something up front, but behind the scene, you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can execute this. But you got to just literally figure it out, like you said.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you had somebody else on. I was looking at your Instagram. I don't remember his name, but he talks about, if you're not where you want to be, then, either time hasn't caught up or you don't have a piece of information yet.
Shout out to Jay Monopoly. That's Jay Monopoly.
Yeah, Jay Monopoly. I heard that and I was like, that's facts. Like, I'm hoping that's true for me. I hope time hasn't caught up yet, and I just need information.
I think he's from Brooklyn too. Brooklyn.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's facts, bro. That's facts.
Shout out to him. That was a really dope phrase that really stuck with me. But I think, I'm still early in this whole process, but I think for me in 2020, that has been probably the biggest lesson for me, is that you don't have to know it. You don't have to know it. Like you could figure it out though. Like the answers are somewhere. Like you can look it up. It could be in a book. It could be in a course. And the information isn't necessarily super expensive. I think that's something that stops so many people. Oh no, I need to have a business degree, or oh nah, that course is $1,000. I'm not taking that. Fuck that. I gotta pay my car bills and like information is super accessible. It could be free on YouTube. It could be a $50 course. Like I said, I've taken so many courses, from this Twitter community that are so affordable, from $50 to $100. And it's like, you could learn so much. And even if you don't find it in the course, bro, you could literally just figure it the fuck out. Like sit down and take some time. And like, that's been a large portion of me getting started with this business. It's like, all right, I got a blueprint from some of these courses that I took. That's awesome. But a lot of this shit was not on the blueprint. A lot of this shit was not on the course. You know what I mean? It was just literally, all right, cool. Sit down. Let's learn this fucking skill and like, let's just figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes to courses, and obviously we can't go to seminars now, but things like that, and investing in education, a lot of people obviously they hesitate because it's not the traditional education. It's not college. And sometimes they don't find it valuable. And oftentimes what I tell people is like, we have to look at, if we're going to buy a course, if we're going to even pay somebody for a consulting session, which I've done, you have to look at it and say like, it's not what they're taking from me, but what can I get out of it? If you have the mentality of like, hey, what can I get out of this thing? You're going to walk away with something, whether it just be that one thing that maybe it wasn't worth $50 or $100, but if you walk away with one thing, it obviously can change your life.
Yeah, that's a fact. And even if it doesn't, it might not scream at you right now that that's a piece of information that you needed, but going back to that digital marketing class that I took before I, got this job, there was a lot of little things in there that I didn't really use. I didn't apply that knowledge right away. But then, fast forward 6 months, fast forward a year and a half, you might remember something from that course, from that seminar, from that book or whatever. You're like, oh shit, like, okay, I remember that. Like now I can use that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think, when it comes to paying for courses and whatnot, we talked about it on the podcast. When you pay for something, you value it more. You take it more serious, right? Because I can be up here giving out this podcast for free, and people will take the information. Some people won't, but I guarantee you, if I charge people $100 per episode, they're going to listen a lot more closely, and they're going to make sure they apply whatever they heard on the podcast.
It's true, bro. Yeah, it's true, 100%. Once you put your money up front, you got a little bit more at stake, so you better pay attention. That's a fact.
Exactly. So you take the course. When do you find out the type of product you want to sell? What made you sell the specific product?
So I had a couple products in mind. I think what I want when I was trying to pick a product, going back, like I said, I had a blueprint of how to, get it kind of up and running. I started by thinking of what do I like, or what do I know? What do I already buy a lot of? Because I know at least what I like from it. And if I like it, somebody else might like it. So I messed around with a couple different ideas, spoke to a couple different manufacturers. And then again, that's where you learn. I had a couple different ideas of stuff that weighed a little bit more. And it literally goes down to that too. Like I learned, all right, cool. If you want to start, if you're going to order something and it weighs more, shipping is going to be more expensive. So that's more upfront cost. So then I started to narrow it down and filter it down through that. And I have a lot of watches even before I knew I was going to do this business, but that was that was definitely an idea that I was like, all right, cool. Like, and then you narrow it down. Watches are relatively light. I know watches. And then, then you start to put the pieces together. It's like, all right, cool. Like, I think this is something I could do. Like, I know what styles I like. I know what I wear. And I know there's definitely a market there. I just have to, get creative, try to be some form of unique. And, like I'm still starting out with this, and I'm still learning a lot and still trying to carve my own way in this, market. Right. But that was kind of the thought process, and still, the thought process that I'm still attacking with it now.
Cool. So now dive into the actual brand and, the name of the brand and what you guys stand for and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. So Alxndr Watches, it's my Instagram name has always been Alxndr, Alxndr. I just kind of like the branding around it. I've had, a couple of different pages, fitness pages with that same, preset, that Alxndr. So I definitely like that. I wanted to run with that. And, initially starting this brand out, I wanted it to be, similar to what you're doing. You have an audience of hustlers. You have an audience of people that, want to be successful, whether it's in business or whether it's in life or whatever the case is. I kind of wanted to represent that. And I think even now that's still something I'm trying to figure out how to, really, really, represent that, and what's the best ways that I can represent that. And,
Mm-hmm.
Because it's weird with the watch brand, how can you be motivational as a watch brand? How can you be
Mm-hmm.
uplifting? How can you be, a business,
Right.
advocate and stuff like that? So just trying to figure these things out and figure out what's the best way to represent that. What's the best way to give value to this audience,
Mm-hmm.
and sell a product that isn't necessarily motivational, but we
Mm-hmm.
can still make the brand around it,
Right.
that way.
Absolutely. I love that you're going through this thought process and you're asking yourself these questions, because when you dive into entrepreneurship and you're selling a product or you're creating a brand, these are questions, legit questions that you got to ask yourself. How am I going to separate myself from the masses, right? How am I going to if my products represents like hustle and passion and whatnot, how am I going to put that out there in the world, right? So it's something, these are questions you definitely got to ask yourself, which is super dope. I wanted to ask, do you got a team around yourself, or is it just you by yourself right now?
Nah, man. Yeah, I guess going back to the figuring it out right now, it's just
Yeah,
me. It's just,
yeah, dope.
learning the skills. And there's definitely people that have approached me. Oh, we can handle your ads for you, and we can do this. And
Mm-hmm.
that might be a good idea down the road. But I think approaching this, it was also, I want to learn the process of doing
Mm,
I want to learn this whole process. Because if I'm delegating something to somebody else, I'm not learning that. And maybe that's the right thing to do at a certain point. But I want to know what to do. I want to know what I'm good at. Maybe I'm not that good at this. All right, but I have to learn that. I have to go through it to learn that I'm not that good at it. And,
mm-hmm.
I can take that knowledge. Now I know how to do this. Now moving forward with this brand and with any other brand that I, work with or create moving forward, now I'm that much better at this.
Dope, dope. So I want to talk about because you do have a day job. You mentioned that earlier. Talk about you using your 9 to 5 to kind of funnel or to fuel your business. Talk about, just that transition and that mentality, and using maybe some of that money to invest into your business.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
The day job, like I said, I got lucky. I work in sports, so it was an interesting time. When everything
Got
shut down, there was no sports. There was no everything was shut down. Like I said, I couldn't go to the gym. I wasn't going to work. There was no sports, so a lot of time opened up for me. But I was still working. I was still
you.
working, so I was still getting paid. So definitely used the money that I'm making to fund whatever I'm starting up.
Right.
But then even as we go on, obviously the NBA season came back, the baseball season came
Mm-hmm.
back, the Dodgers won, unfortunately. But
Right.
even when things picked up, even when things got busier, I'm still working, I'm still busy, especially during the playoff time for us. That's a very busy time. Um, so, just trying to balance it, like it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to have all the hours in the day. Some days you're going to finish
Mm-hmm.
work and you're not going to be in the mood to do what you got to do. But,
Right.
like you just have to attack it, even if it's a little bit that day, even if you don't want to, even if you're not in the mood to work, like, you still got to get stuff done. And, yeah, I feel like a lot of people consider, oh, should I quit my job and,
Mm-hmm.
just go 100%. And who am I to say? I'm not, maybe in
Mm-hmm.
10 years I can say what to do in that situation, and I'll be way more successful and
Mm-hmm.
a very credible source there. But right now I think it's important to try to balance the both of them, because you need to fund the business, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just the balance of trying to fund it and still working, but having the time to actually work on it when things are busy at work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate you being, transparent, and I commend you to what you're doing, because I know working a 9 to 5, it can be a little bit of draining, and then having to come home after the gym and put in those more hours. People don't realize, it's the journey to entrepreneurship and to doing what you want. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? It's gonna take you having to go that extra mile, and sometimes things will be out of balance for you. They might not be balanced for you. You might have to sacrifice somewhere in your life, where I'm sure you probably sacrifice hours of sleep or time with your family to get to that point. And I appreciate you being transparent on here and just sharing your journey. I think it's super dope for sure. I wanted to ask you, where do you want to take the brand, right? Where do you want to take it? Maybe within the next, let's just say 6 months. Obviously, uh, we know you want to take it really far, but where do you want to take it at? Where do you see it at in 6 months to a year?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I think for me, more so, it's been learning the skills as best as I can
Got
and
you.
trying to apply those skills, trying to apply whatever I'm learning as best as I can. Because this, like, I'm very early in this process, so a lot of this is learning. A lot of this is taking the information that you're learning, applying it,
Hmm.
testing it. Does this work? Does this not work? And for me, a big part of it is absolutely I want it to be successful, but at the same time, I want to very thoroughly learn these skills, or
Hmm.
at least enough to make this do well. And I hope that's where it goes. When it comes to advertising and things like that, that's skill sets that I'm really trying to prioritize, because that's something that you can apply. Whether this, God forbid this doesn't work. You
Yeah,
can't always control that, but if I
absolutely.
have those skills that I've learned throughout this process, now I can apply it to this. I can apply it to that. I'm much more versatile if I have that skill set, and just trying to learn those skills and apply it as best as possible. So in 6 months, I hope we're profitable each and
Hmm.
every month, and doing well. But it's more of a, I guess, a day to day, and just trying to learn as much as
Yeah.
possible, bro.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's super dope. We can start kind of wrapping this thing up. Like I said, I really appreciate you coming on here, sharing your story, sharing where you're at in your journey. I think it's very, very important to have people on you that are willing to take that risk to jump into entrepreneurship and take that risk to jump on a podcast and share where you're at. It's something that a lot of people may have their guard up about, but I appreciate you coming on and sharing that, and being open with us. I know the community and all of us are going to be watching out for you, and hoping that you take this thing to the next level for sure.
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, 100%. I'm definitely not an expert in this field, but
Yeah,
even if I can help one person in this, just
yeah,
with one piece of information, hopefully that's the case, because it's
yeah,
very young in this, but I feel like I'm learning a lot. I'm going to continue to learn a lot, and as I'm sure you are too. I know this is for you building this up too, and
hmm,
it's dope, bro. It's a pleasure to talk, and just to talk
absolutely.
to somebody like minded, and dive into a community of people that are the same way.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, I always ask my guests to leave one last piece of advice for the audience. It can be anything, it can be sports, business related, personal development. What would you tell the audience? And we can just end it on that note. It can be anything.
Um, yeah, like I said, I think the big lesson for me in 2020 is figure it the fuck out. You don't have to know
Mm,
what you're gonna do. You don't have to know exactly the lane that you're gonna maneuver in. Just figure it out. Don't overthink it. Keep it simple. Figure it the fuck out.
boom. Love it. I love it. Where can people follow you? Where can people find you on social media? I'll definitely leave, all the handles, social media handles in the description of this podcast, but let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. My personal Instagram is Alexandr Vega, ALXNDRVEGA. The brand is Alxndr Watches,
Mm.
ALXNDR Watches, WATCHES. I hope I spelled that right.
Are you
Um,
good?
and on Twitter, you can follow me at Alex Vega _28. I believe that's my
Boom.
handle there. So
Yes, sir. Yeah.
that's handles right there.
Cool, cool. Yeah, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Like I said, I'll leave all the links and whatnot in the description of this podcast. And with that being said, it's your boy Chris, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.